Okay, let's just unpack this right away, because the musical technique we are getting into today is, well, it's arguably the single most critical driving force in all of jazz music.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about the walking bass.
The walking bass. It really is the engine, right? The whole foundation of any great jazz group.
It is. If you've ever listened to a jazz track and you feel that, that relentless, steady forward motion,
Mhm.
that is the walking bass line doing its job perfectly.
So for anyone listening, I think we need a really crisp definition right at the top. What is it exactly?
Well, it's a constant rhythmic and harmonic technique. But it's interesting because it didn't just appear out of nowhere, it has a history.
Right. Where did it come from?
It got hugely popular during the swing era. We're talking the 1930s and 40s.
Okay.
Back then, big bands were playing for dancers.
Mm.
So if you have a huge dance floor full of people, you need a pulse that's just impossible to miss.
And before this, bass players would.
Yeah.
They'd often use a tuba, and they'd only hit a couple of beats in the measure.
Exactly. Usually just the first and third beats, which left these kind of awkward gaps in the rhythm.
That style was okay for a march, I guess.
But it wasn't enough for swing. The big innovation of the walking bass was moving from those 2 beats per measure to hitting all 4 beats.
And that's where the name comes from, isn't it? The walking.
That's it. The bassist is playing 4 distinct notes in a 44 measure, 1 note on every single beat. It feels like someone just taking a confident walk down the street.
And that became the standard.
It did.
That-
For the big upright double bass, and then later for the electric bass guitar in modern jazz. And that really brings us to its first job, the rhythmic engine.
The human metronome.
The bass player is the human metronome for the entire band.
I've heard some people describe it as just, 4 robotic quarter notes. But that's not right, is it?
No, not at all. Because if it were robotic, the music would just sound dead, stale.
So even though each note is a quarter note for equal beats in a bar, the real challenge is something else.
The challenge is maintaining a rock-solid tempo no matter what. I mean, the saxophone player could be playing the wildest solo imaginable.
And everyone's relying on the bass to stay anchored.
Totally. The drummer, the soloist, everyone. If the bassist speeds up or slows down even a tiny bit, the whole thing can fall apart.
And that's where the feel comes in, I'd imagine.
Exactly. It's not just about hitting the notes. They have to be played with a certain internal accent, a slight push that creates the feeling of swing.
So it's not a machine. There's a human element to it.
A huge one. And this requires a really serious partnership in the rhythm section.
With the drummer.
Yes. The bass player has to work incredibly closely with the drummer's ride cymbal.
That shimmering sound you always hear.
That's the one. When that cymbal and the deep notes of the bass lock in together, that groove defines the entire energy of the song. You just can't have great jazz without it.
Okay, so if the rhythm is the engine pushing us forward, then the harmony is like the map telling us where we are.
That's a great way to put it. The walking bass line is basically a constant signal that defines the chords for everyone.
For the band and for the listener.
Right. Every single player on that stage is listening to the bass to make sure what they're playing fits the harmony of that exact moment.
And what's the most important note in that whole measure?
The first one, beat 1. Almost always, the bassist will start on the root note of the chord on that first beat.
The anchor.
It is the anchor. If the chord is C major, the first note you hear from the bass will be a C. It tells everyone, okay, this is our home bass right now.
So that root note is kind of non-negotiable.
For stability, yes. But then you have 3 more beats in the measure.
Right, beats 2, 3, and 4. What happens there?
That's where the player gets to be creative while still outlining the chord. They'll choose other notes that belong to that chord, like the 3rd, the 5th, or the 7th.
Let's talk about the 3rd for a second, because that seems really important for the mood.
It is the emotional switch.
Yeah.
If the bassist plays a major 3rd, the music instantly sounds bright and happy.
Okay. But if they play a minor 3rd instead, the whole mood shifts. It becomes more serious or sad or reflective. That one note choice changes everything for the listener.
So the bass is this amazing bridge between the drums and the melody.
Exactly. It connects the pure timekeeping with the emotional harmony. It's a really challenging and rewarding role to play.
So now that we know the job keep time, outline the chords, how does a bassist actually build one of these lines? Let's talk about the first big tool, arpeggios.
Arpeggios are the fundamental building blocks. To put it simply, an arpeggio is just playing the notes of a chord one after the other instead of all at once.
So instead of a piano player hitting C, E, and G at the same time.
The bassist plays C, then E, then G, one by one.
And why is that considered like the safest way to build a line?
Because it guarantees every note you play will sound good with the chord. It's a reliable way to sound professional right away because you're constantly reinforcing the harmony.
So arpeggios define the chord we're on right now. What about getting to the next chord?
That's where the second tool comes in, scales. Okay, and scales are for connecting the dots.
That's the perfect way to think about it.
Uh-huh.
Scales are for moving smoothly from one chord to the next. Jazz music is always changing chords, so you need a graceful way to make those transitions.
And it usually means using stepwise motion.
Correct. Stepwise motion just means you're playing notes that are right next to each other in the scale, avoiding big, clumsy jumps.
So you're literally walking up or down the scale to the next chord.
Exactly. It creates this very melodic, natural flow that helps the music move logically from one section to another. It just sounds smooth.
Okay, now for the really fun stuff. Let's talk about the advanced techniques that make a bass line sound truly sophisticated.
This is where we get into tension and release. And the first big tool for that is the chromatic passing tone.
Chromatic sounds a little intimidating. Can you break that down?
All it means is a note that's outside the main scale of the chord you're playing.
A wrong note.
A temporary wrong note, yeah. You use it as a very quick bridge between two right notes. It's usually just one half step away from your target note.
So if you're trying to get to the note A, you might play a G sharp right before it.
Exactly. And that G sharp, for just a split second, creates this really powerful tension. It makes the listener's ear want to hear the resolution.
And when you finally land on the A,
It feels so satisfying. That little bit of tension gives the music that sophisticated, sometimes bluesy flavor that's so crucial to jazz.
in these chromatic notes, they're often placed on the fourth beat of the measure, right?
Yes, very often. Because that fourth beat is often used as a leading tone.
The musical magnet.
Precisely. A leading tone is a note that creates a strong pull towards the next chord. It's like a big sign on the highway telling everyone a change is coming.
Which is super important for the soloist.
Oh, absolutely. It tells them how to prepare for the new harmony so they don't play a clashing note. It keeps the music driving forward. Without strong leading tones, a bass line can feel static.
Okay, let's add one last layer of rhythm here, something that's pure feel. Ghost notes.
The name is perfect, isn't it? Because they're almost invisible. Ghost notes are rhythmic sounds that don't really have a specific pitch.
So just little percussive clicks or thumps.
That's it. You create them by lightly touching or muting the strings. They're not notes you'd see written on sheet music. They're all about texture.
And they add extra swing.
They do. They fill in the tiny spaces between the main notes, especially in faster songs, and just make the whole line feel more alive, more authentic.
Let's talk about the hardware for a second. What instruments are bassists actually using?
Well, the traditional instrument is the upright double bass, the big one.
It's huge, right? Like 6 feet tall.
It is, and it has that classic warm, woody, acoustic sound that you hear in older jazz.
But I'm guessing that's not easy to travel with.
Not at all, which is why the electric bass guitar became so popular, especially in styles like jazz fusion. It's portable, easier to amplify, and it can cut through a loud band.
But no matter which instrument you're using, the goal for the tone is the same.
The goal is always a thick and clear tone. You need that depth, but you also need clarity so the notes don't sound muddy. That solid low end is what people feel.
Okay, so for a young musician listening who wants to start walking, what are the first steps? How do you practice this?
First, you have to master the rhythm before anything else. Get a metronome and set it to a really slow tempo, like 60 or 70 beats per minute.
And just focus on evenness.
Perfect evenness.
Yeah.
No rushing, no dragging. Just lock in with that click.
Okay, rhythm first. What's next?
Start simple with the harmony. Don't try to learn a super complex jazz standard. Start with a basic 12-bar blues pattern.
Because it only has a few chords to worry about.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
the perfect place to practice building your lines with arpeggios.
And then it's about training your ear, not just your fingers.
Absolutely. You have to listen. Listen to the great jazz bassists, and even better, use play-along tracks where the bass has been removed.
So you have to fill in that empty space yourself.
You fill the gap. You have to improvise. And the real goal here isn't to just memorize lines from a book.
It's about becoming fluent.
That's it. The goal is to be able to create a brand new, musically correct bass line every single time you play the song. You stop thinking about the notes and just feel the harmony.
So what does this all mean for the listener then?
Well, the walking bass is really the architectural foundation of jazz. It's the thing that ties rhythm and harmony together, and it ensures the music is always, always moving forward.
Keep listening, keep learning, and next time you hear a great jazz track, pay attention to that deep, steady pulse. It's the conversation happening right under the surface, driving everything else you hear. Good luck with your studies.